This car wants to be the best luxury car in the world. Can this one here be a nail in the coffin for the German premium automotive industry? We're going to find out here with the Nio Et9 with Thomas on Autogefühl in 4K, full screen, full length. Let's go! When this Et9 has a very closed front, a fluid form, and here the data monitor lights, very slim integration. This is also where the turning indicators appear. The main headlamp unit then is here in the lower part. Silver color here today. In our initial studio episode we had the dark blue one, and there was so much feedback to this car and so much going on around, people discussing. And the reason for that is that it's actually full of technology. 22 or 23-inch wheels. These are the biggest 23-inch wheels. Here also with the wheel caps that stay actually upright. So yeah, we know that feature from back in the days and already from Rolls-Royce. So even when the car is driving, it stays upright. And also the whole car is staying upright because this one here has individual hydraulic pumps for the wheels. And so it's an active suspension. And by that, the car is always remaining upright, no matter if you accelerate, if you brake, if you lean left or right, like steer left or right, it does not lean. That's actually the case. We know this kind of technology from Porsche Panamera or Porsche Taycan or Audi e-tron GT in the facelifts each. And this one here is working in a similar way, just that it's even quicker from the frequency it is actually working. The overall length here is 5 meters 33 or 210 inches. And it has this, little bit fastback style, I would say. So not a classic sedan, you can see, because of this very fluent form here. This rear wing here is integrated, but it can also lift up a little bit then at higher speeds to give you a little bit more downforce. You get a rear axle steering, steers 8.3 degrees in the opposite direction than the front wheels. And that makes a turning circle of only 10.9 meters. That's really not that large for such a long or large vehicle. All-wheel drive, one electric motor in the rear, one in the front, and 4.3 seconds is the acceleration figure, so also pretty quick then. And then we have the charging flap here on my side, if Leah can come around, because at the moment it will start with a 95 kilowatt-hour net battery. That's 100 kilowatt-hours gross. And there we go. So opens to the top, and this will of course have a different charging port if it comes to Europe at some point. At the moment it's not announced when exactly. And 10 to 80% says that they need like less than 20 minutes. At this moment supposed to be more charging peak of 325 kilowatts, something like that. So later on they also want to bring a battery with about 120 kilowatt hours gross. That's about 112 kilowatt hours net. That one is actually then charging even quicker. So possibly this car could also charge with around 600 kilowatt in the peak, because this one here is a 925 volt architecture. So indeed, as I said, full of tech, this vehicle. And in China, this one here is sold under 100,000 euros. It would not be at the same price if it would be released in Europe at some point, for example. That's actually quite certain. But still, it's impressive what car they can bring on the road for this kind of price, even though if like the wage level and so on is way lower than in Europe. And Leah is showing you another technology feature, and that is the steer-by-wire steering wheel. You see here this unusual form, and that's here, completely turning in to the one or the other side. So this is the only movement needed. And then here the wheels are completely turned right or left just by this movement, and that's actually it. And by the way, if you could continue, here this is also where you can see the rear axle steering once again in action, and the difference then from the rear wheels to the front wheels there. So pretty impressive. And the steer-by-wire, the way is that there's no mechanical link then here between the steering wheel and the wheels. This is all done steer-by-wire. So just the electronic control. Yeah, this is also looking funny, right? When you have the steering wheel like this. So do you like it?
Yeah, it's cool, yeah. And it's not so big.
So it's no, it's comfortable, no?
It's comfortable. Yeah, I like it, yeah.
And very interesting, here the first motorized frunk. So you press and hold here on the key fob, and then you have these gas struts that you also have with the trunk usually. There we go, with a large front frunk then here. And you can also close it here again when you like put something out or in. Then put this knob then, and there it closes again. course, I can also open the trunk here with the key fob with pressing and holding. It takes a while though, gotta say that. And there we go. So you see, it looks like a fastback, but it's more a closed sedan trunk here. 540 liters it says, but it looks smaller actually. But here is 1 meter or 40 inches between the wheel arches, just wider in the front area. And the height here is about 20 inches or about 50 centimeters. And the length is a little bit more than the meters, like a little bit more than a meter or 40 inches. Here you can see the trolley still fits in a vertical way. Yeah, but why do they do that? Also, just not much underneath, actually. Fire extinguisher here in this case. But I mean, comparable also to other luxury sedans. But why do they do it in a sealed-off way? For better sound deadening. So that way you can make it even more silent here on the interior in the rear. Different color combination would be, by the way, this here blue on the exterior and then the even brighter interior. I think it's a pretty cool color combination, especially here with the two-tone steering wheel. What do you think? Heading towards the interior, it's a very interesting thing that happens here. So I'm approaching the vehicle, there we go, and then, seeing that here, the car lowers itself and opens the door, welcoming me inside. And this is a really funny cultural difference, because here the car is lowering, like bowing down basically, and you can get inside. Whereas you maybe know that vehicles in Europe or in America, if they have some kind of technology like this, like the Porsche Panamera, Porsche Taycan, Audi e-tron GT, they actually sit low and then actually go up, that you can easier get inside. So maybe it's a cultural difference, or it's about the average body height or something like that. I'm not really sure, but it's a very funny thing, isn't it? And then here, this automatic door thing, you can also press this button, then it automatically closes again. It also has a soft close. There we go. However, we still want to test the door slamming sound, which is actually quite cool. Of course, the automatic door thing also works here for the rear, that you are welcomed inside. There we go. See here, it also has a door sensor, and it's always a button here to close it, or then there's like an additional button there, like at the ceiling from the inside, that you can easier reach that actually. Let's try the sensor once again. See here, it doesn't even touch me. It realized I'm like, there's an object here. Okay, I'm not an object, you know, but
You are strong wall.
yeah, strong object, yeah, exactly. So, and then inside of the doors, everything wrapped here. You can already see here with the windows. Let's see how low they go. That's interesting. Look at that. They disappear completely. And there you can also see the dual glazing of the windows, which is for all 4 windows, actually. And then first look at the interior. Here you already saw the preview of the steering wheel, which has this very interesting form. There are buttons here, but you see it's the one button field. This, for example, to change the driving modes is just one button, but then different controls there. Classic stalks for the indicator, for example, and the right side for the gears. And then you already have this one instrument cluster which goes from left to the right of the car completely. Seats here are sadly animal skin only. Although this is a high-tech vehicle, you gotta say that the technology is meanwhile that far that animal-free materials are also superior and are also softer and more animal-friendly. Here the seating. It's very plush indeed, all electric support, of course. There we go. However, I can say from the base comfort, the ergonomics, I don't find it ideal. Maybe it's also a cultural thing. I'm not sure about that, because in the Denza Z9 GT, I had the same feeling recently that the base ergonomics is not really suitable. It's maybe also a thing that, I don't know, like for example, the recent BMW or Volvo ergonomics from the seats are more suitable to me. Maybe it's an individual thing. I'm not actually sure. I can just state my experience here in the review. And then here with 1,89 m, 6'2", there's still some headroom left. And this like this split glass roof will soon also open and close that for you, that you can actually see how it works. It doesn't open as in leaving air in, but just these shades actually open. And funny thing here with the steering wheel is not only that it's steer-by-wire, but I mean, it's really, really narrow in this respect. You can also close the door with hitting the brake. I'm not sure if I will kill Leah with that now on, no? Oh, interesting. So this one only closes the driver's door. In the Denza Z9 GT recently, oh, this The user account is set obviously to a different person. So recently with the Denza Z9 GT, all the doors were actually closing when hitting the brake as well. That was interesting. So this one closed now, but I can open here the top shades. We have a little bit more light, and it's always spectacular. It's actually even more spectacular when like one is going faster than the other one. Then you can see the difference here, for example. Yeah, pretty cool. Front cockpit here. You know that BMW is also planning at this moment this new layering system. So infotainment here. Then this going through instrument basic as a second layer. It's also on the passenger side. Also show the average consumption there, or like the time or weather and so on, something like that. And then the big head-up display as the third layer. This is Nomi here. It's like this digital voice assistant. You can have it visible or not visible. And this also thing about the Chinese market, that the customers here more and more talk to the vehicle. Whereas in Europe and the US, customers will say, I just want the knob, I want the button, and I don't want to spend time talking to my vehicle, you know. And but of course, like the preferences are also more and more merging and going back and forth. Interesting here, these pillows already in the front, it's a nice microfiber surface. And usually, we'll also comment on that in the rear again, a German version would be the pillow is here. The Chinese version is here. This is more that like you have like the shoulder part covered, but it's a very interesting idea. But I personally would prefer it more in the head area. What do you think about this? Tell me in the comments. However, what you can also do is lift this pillow up, and then we would also have our European or US pillow here on the top part. We have a digital mirror here, by the way, so either you can switch it normal or then also with a camera view, which makes sense because when I look to the rear, there's hardly anything to see there. So the window is really, really tiny. I love that we have the microfiber covering here from the inside everywhere. Also here, look at that. It's like a loose cover like we have on the ceiling. And then you can slide these open. Then, oh, is it like, look at that. You only need like this slide push, and then the rest is done automatically. There we go. Now Leah is maybe angry because she wanted to show this. Yeah, she wanted to show this feature. Sorry about that, honey. Yeah, and then we have the middle console. So we have inductive charging pads too. However, the phones still overheat, although they are cooled here. And then here you can store some sunglasses, but you can also pull that off if you want to have this opened permanently, for example. So this would also be possible. Then you have this wooden atmosphere, that's pretty cool. It's rear wood as well. And then you can also open here the cup holders. And there we go. Here, this is where I could control some of the instruments layer. Split opening here for all the clutter, camera case and so on. 2 USB-C chargers. Also nice closing sound from here. And the overall build quality here is really at a very, very high level. So the separation here from left to right here with the middle console is continued in the roof. It does not have a technological necessity to do that. It's more for design reasons. And then you can individually slide them open left and right. Here from a driver's perspective, you can see, yeah, in this horizontal video format, this steering wheel fits in perfectly, so to speak. And then the second layer here with the digital instruments, some information also on the left. And then also have the head-up display, which is not flickering in real life. And then the main infotainment unit. At this moment, there's only the Chinese language version, but what's important is, I mean, controlling the basic functions, is like the Tesla interface, a little bit like that. And interesting is that the hardware is really quick. You know, here when you do pinch and zoom on the map and so on, this is super, super quick. So there's a lot of processing power behind it. Temperature you control like here. Here, for example, also go do some seat cooling or seat heating. You also have a more extended climate menu like this. And here you can, for example, also then pick the seat heating and the seat cooling for the individual seats. Even the rear seats have seat cooling. And in the front, you can also get a massage function. Welcome to the rear luxury experience, and there's so much I can show to you, which is really interesting. First of all, the inside of the doors, I can even control it here from my side. Here one button then to put down the shade. There we go, also smooth process, and there you can also see the dual glazed windows. Oh, look at that, they completely disappear. Very interesting, right? There we go. And then you can also make this, oh, Leah can show it with their beautiful fingernail. There we go, with the dual glazed windows also in the rear. Not sure, can you see it from the outside? Because there's even like a small shade. You can see it on my side. There's this additional shade just for the very, very tiny rear window. So that looks actually pretty cool. So really thinking about all the luxury details here. And I mean, here from the headroom, it's close. I mean, I wonder about that. If I close the shade, I can actually trim my hair with closing or opening the shade here. So you see, it's relatively high. I mean, the battery electric vehicles, they always have like this high floor here because of the battery in the bottom. Here you can see this high floor mat as well. This is pretty cool, feeling really nice here because I already took off my shoes. That is necessary for this vehicle, let's take it that way. You also can get rear seat entertainment here, where you also have the same software like you have in the front. And then you have this large bridge here, this executive bridge, how they call it, here in the middle, here for the cup holders with nice clicking sounds there. And then you have a screen here, and you can also fold it up a little bit, that you can see it better, and you can control the seat functions and so on. And even more important, here, clicking here, and then look down there now, there is the fridge with all the refreshments. So yeah, that's pretty cool, and also accessible from here. And it actually works between -2 degrees Celsius, so around like freezing temperatures, and up to 55 degrees Celsius. That's like already pretty hot. So you can, yeah, you can, you can actually keep the drinks cold, but you can also warm your food there, actually. And then here underneath, there we go. Fold this one up. This inductive charging pad with cooling. USB-C chargers down there and the real power socket. There we go. And then we can fold down this table like this. There we go. And there's either here this mirror in there, or you can put this table and then maybe like work on the laptop and so on, and it's really stable actually. And there we go, fold it in again. It's always definitely funny to do that. There we go. And then in the rear here, where I can put this touch button, then this one comes toward us for like a notepad and a pen, and some more space here. You can also take this one out for cleaning, or like a secret chamber there in the very rear. So I have set this seat here at this moment to the same, like, you know, position to the driver's seat. So this is the legroom I would have when I'm also behind the driver's seat here. However, I'm here on the right side because the executive function is even more extreme here. Let's take it that way. But the funny thing is that here the executive driving position is available for both seating positions here. Let me show that to you. There we go. So, oh, I need to move my shoes as well, because this footrest here comes out, so the seat goes forward. There we go. And then also here the calf rest comes into play. There we go. So, and here additional thing, seat goes up. Here meanwhile I have the calf rest right here. There we go. Takes a while, of course, and you can see here I can be now. Do we see that here with the that moved up? There we go. Yes, like this middle tunnel was blocking it a little bit. And here now, I mean, with 189 6x2, I'm really completely stretched. In the 7 Series it was also possible. In the S Class it was not that well possible because the seat is so large itself actually. But here is a very relaxed position. And Leah, if you could please press the button there too, this lying button there. Yes, this then one more time and hold maybe a second. Yeah, there we go. You can leave it now. Then that's yeah. Oh no. Yeah, there's press and hold actually, probably that the driver isn't squished. And this is then the maximum position here on the driver's side. I mean, you see it's not very equal, but already quite wide. So you can have really two adults almost fully stretched here. That's actually very seldom that it goes so wide also on the driver's area. It's just, I got to say that for Leah and me, I think that middle bridge here would not be so nice, right honey? So we would rather prefer a car without the bridge between us, but I can understand like the thought behind it. Maybe your business partner is, maybe you are in fierce contract discussions or something like that. So you rather want to have the bridge first, you know, and then first, I want this price. No, I want this price. Yeah, I don't know, for whatever reason. But definitely, yeah, this is a very cool executive rear experience here, and comparable definitely to some of the competitors, but I think also with nice solutions here. This like a retractable fridge, for example, is one of my favorite features. And another interesting feature is the 5D cinema. So Leah can activate it for us there in the front. And now everything is closed, like all the shades are being closed. And they have recorded like different movies and connected to it. Now it gets dark, like cinema atmosphere. And then you have certain scenes where they connect actually something which is happening in the movie to the movement of the vehicle. Now it already starts here, and whoa, we're being shaken around. We can't show the movie scenes because of copyright issues, but you get the idea. So when some action scenes are happening, then you're also being shaken around like the characters in the movie. Starting with the Nio Et9, and you can see here the steer-by-wire system. So I'm parking out. Yeah, that's it. See here? That's it. Like I don't turn the steering wheel more, but I already have like the full turning in of the wheels, the full angle of the wheels. So this is how the steer-by-wire system has an advantage. What does it mean? It's just the electronic control. So what I'm doing here with the steering wheel has no physical impact on the wheels directly, but it's then basically recorded, and then this signal is sent to the wheels and they are reacting. And by that, you can make it totally independent from that. And you have to steer less. You can keep your hands at the steering wheel all the time, more like a Formula One steering wheel, for example. And this all has dual glazed windows, so we always start here with a luxury experience. We hear nothing from the outside. Of course, when we drive a little bit quicker later on, we're also going to find out how it behaves in the city. Yeah, we're gonna go left, right here, and especially here in the busy city traffic, it's
so silent.
It's extremely silent. Yeah, I mean
it's so good. Yeah.
This has passive and active noise cancellation, so both, and yeah, I mean, you almost feel that there's nothing. There's absolutely nothing.
We can whisper
really.
And you can hear us. Yeah.
Yeah. I mean, you see these, even here, like the older Ford Transit truck. I mean, like a lot of the vehicles here are meanwhile all electric and are more silent, but also from the tire noise, of course, that doesn't matter then that much if it's electric or petrol. But you always have to watch out here, definitely. So you're watching these cars and you think like, okay, like, I see them, but I don't hear anything from the cars. You know, that's a really interesting thing. I also see this head-up display in front of me, and it has an augmented reality function. So at this moment, I see basically like a map, like a small map being projected onto the rear of this vehicle there in front of me. So that's also a funny thing. Leah is controlling some of the seat functions and is seeing like the visualizations in this panoramic screen there in the front. And
I think that's a nice.
It's nice with the weather and so on.
Screen.
Yeah, nice passenger experience. I mean, definitely.
It's,
I mean, this is also like where BMW is heading to with this panoramic vision, like the same logic, something in the front, then here, and then the third layer with the head-up display there. So definitely this calmness of the ride is something very extraordinary already here. The vision to the rear, by the way, is kinda blocked, I gotta say, so you don't see too much to this, like through this small window. But since you have this digital rear mirror here, it actually makes sense when you have like just a very, very tiny glass there in the rear with the camera. Then you can see everything that is going on behind you, and you also have these like this surround cameras right there. So this vehicle is packed full of sensors actually. The steering itself, by the way, I mean, you gotta get used to it, that it has like this very, very wide but narrow form. Sometimes you feel like driving like this rather, which looks of course fun. And you gotta think, when I'm doing like this, like if you think about like the wheels are already turned in like this, you know. So yeah, but that's more like a matter of getting used to. And
we need to go straight.
We need to go straight,
Yeah.
you think?
Use the left
Yeah.
lane. Yeah.
On the right lane. Let's see if someone leaves me in. There's like the blind spot monitor there as well. There we go.
With the sound, yeah.
Yeah. I mean, the wheels turn in that way. Oh, maybe make it a little bit. Yeah, it's good acceleration here. Wow. Yeah, I mean, 4.3 seconds is 0 to 100 kilometers an hour. The rear motor is always stronger. You also got the front electric motor there, making that all-wheel drive. It's absolutely effortless, this ride, you know. Since we are in an electric... Whoa, this is interesting. Didn't know that. What the... That's interesting. So usually when you have green and can go straight... I mean, now the traffic light turned to red, obviously because I was cut off by people going left, although they didn't have right of way. Interesting. Yeah. You still got to get used to the sometimes chaos here on the Shanghai city traffic. And probably all the Chinese viewers...
But they're very chill. They are, okay,
yeah.
Happens. Taxi drivers.
Taxi drivers doesn't care at all. Yeah, it's really like yeah. I mean, coming from Germany and you drive very fast on the autobahn, you still count here as probably the most defensive rider, and everyone's honking at you that you're just not driving, you know, and taking your right of way on your own, basically. Some lane changes then here in the city are easily done. So it is a very large vehicle, but due to this suspension technology, I actually don't feel that. And also here the steering is so light that it feels like a lighter and smaller vehicle. And gotta say, although it's steer-by-wire and you have this massive input from the steering wheel, it doesn't feel that unnatural. Why is it? It doesn't have like a dead zone area. Even small, fine commands are being transported to the road. So yeah, you don't have like a natural linear feeling, let's take it that way, but you can control this car very well. It feels a little bit like maybe you're playing a very well-made computer game. This car somehow feels surreal, you know, because of the steering, then because it's so silent. The suspension makes the car kind of like fly on the road, but not like in a soft way, rather in a stiffer way. What I mean by that, the car is being always kept straight. So no matter what I do with the steering wheel and no matter what happens underneath me, is actually that the car just stays upright, you know? And that's the sense of this suspension. So these individual hydraulic pumps work per wheel, and then they keep everything upright and the wheels work underneath that. You all can also change driving modes, for example, here pressing with the left thumb on the steering wheel, and then we are rather keeping it in normal mode. You can also go to a sport mode here, for example, for stronger acceleration and throttle input and so on. But you can also go to a special chauffeur mode, so that everyone then in the rear has even more comfort. So and then like an eco mode is also possible. Quick city acceleration, hold on tight. It was 20 to 50 and it was not the sport mode, so just the normal mode. Yeah, so acceleration will work anytime. And also there, when I do a hard acceleration, the car is staying upright. We know the system from the Porsche Taycan, Audi e-tron GT and the facelifts, and also from the new Porsche Panamera. Car's always staying upright no matter which movement there is, like front, back. Oh, hey, someone tries to clean our car from the side of the road. But we're already clean actually, so actually it's changed the lane.
Good
so
that you changed the lane.
yeah, because we want to keep it clean for you, that we can do some more exterior shots actually. So here, for example, when I'm braking late now, and now I'm braking a little bit harder, the car does not dip at all. You felt that?
Yeah.
But,
It's good for my tummy. Yeah.
You felt that you felt nothing basically. So usually the car would dip, you know, when braking to the traffic light, and here's like you decelerate and the car is also staying upright. And
for the passenger, it's better.
For passenger, it's better, you say?
Yeah.
Interesting. Yeah. Because for me, I mean, it's a very impressive technology. With the Taycan or the Panamera, when I've been driving one with and one without, from a driver's perspective, you feel a little bit more car when there's also at least, I mean, these cars are staying upright anyways, due to the suspension technology. But at least when you have some natural movement, you have a better feeling for the car, what the car is doing and so on. But this is maybe really this differentiation between driver and passenger, or also then rear passenger, because then of course you have better comfort when there's less movement and so on. By the way, the driving modes, I can induce it here on the steering wheel, and I can also click it through, so I don't have to confirm on the screen. So here, for example, switching to the sport mode, and yeah, I can tell you here this.
Lower then.
This
you feel that?
Did it go lower? Yeah. Okay, I was talking, so I didn't pay attention. So suspension a little bit lower then. Yeah, there's also this chauffeur mode, which is optimizing everything then for the rear passenger. But, I can tell you, the sport mode does not only change the throttle input, it really also changes the power delivery. And I think we can go 60 here in 15 seconds. That's just an interesting thing here. I'm not sure if you...
It would be cool in Germany.
Yeah, if you see that, I mean, there are some traffic, like the construction traffic lights. That's what I mean. They're like the temporary ones that do that, but not the proper ones. Yeah, that was 0 to 60 kilometers an hour.
Wow.
That's insane. Yeah, so really strong acceleration, really. I gotta say though, this suspension is keeping that car so much upright. I mean, yeah, in a way, like your stomach is flying out of your spine. At least I felt like that. But at the same time, the car was staying absolutely upright. Here in the sport mode, you also feel the suspension is way stiffer now. So now I'm feeling like some bumps on the road and so on.
But also fine.
Yeah, it's fine actually. Yeah. This bridge here, by the way, is often used like for marketing and PR shootings for manufacturers. I've seen it a lot of times, like in official footage stuff. Interesting bridge here in Shanghai city area. So sport mode still works. It's still comfortable enough, so to speak, but I would rather keep it in a normal mode. I mean, we can here do some quick driving here now, 90-degree corner. Yeah, it behaves really nicely. I now also felt that the rear electric motor is a little bit stronger, because when you accelerate out of the corner, it kind of helps you getting out of the corner just a little bit. So that's actually a quite nice feeling. Well, yeah, but I think the normal mode is more comfortable. I'm actually happy that I can switch it here on the steering wheel, that not everything is done with the touchscreen. I'm always a fan of the manual dials here also, that I don't have to change the climate in the screen. The Chinese customers tend to do more with voice control. So European and...
Thomas' little friend?
Yeah, Naomi is waving to us.
But
yeah,
you only can speak Chinese right now.
Yeah, I gotta say though that the Chinese Nomi version is way more like drawn back. It doesn't interfere that much and so on. So
green light.
Yeah, but I'm just, because the car says I'm only allowed to drive 30, and I don't want to be caught by any speed camera. I'm not sure like if it's really 30 here. That can be confusing, right? When you have two different like the number countdown for going straight and the number countdown for going left. Can be confusing at times actually. Yeah, once again, to the traffic light, car staying upright. So yeah, that is a really relaxed suspension feeling. I'm not 100% happy with the seat ergonomics. Told you earlier in the interior part. We had the same with the Denza Z9 GT. So there I feel, for example, especially the current BMW seats, combination with the Veganza material also, but also like the base ergonomics under the seat. Not sure if it's about my body type, or if like the cars for the Chinese market then have different base ergonomics on purpose or something like that. I feel like not sure, like my legs are like too high in the air, so to speak. Yeah, it's maybe also because of the high floor, maybe that too. A problem of some EVs definitely, but that's maybe something I could criticize. But everything else in comfort and relaxation features is really very, very good. So even though it's so busy here outside from all the traffic going around, you kind of tend to fall asleep while driving, because it's so relaxed, right? And I mean, even here, for example, when I accelerate, I mean, not like super flooring it out, but I accelerate quite swiftly. It still, that doesn't apply so much pressure on your body. It's only when you're in sport mode and really floor it all the way, then you actually feel that. But the suspension, that's the main goal of it, really evens everything out. And you got to remember, and I actually myself, I almost forgot that we are driving with 23-inch wheels, and you don't really feel that. Usually when we drive a vehicle with 23-inch wheels, it's way less comfortable actually. So maybe I'll stop here. Yeah. So indeed, like the bigger the wheel is, the less comfort you have usually. But here now, actually, I rather don't feel any discomfort from the wheels. So Leah, Nio Et9 or BMW 7 Series?
Oh, that's hard. From the seating, I think the 7 Series, but it's more silent here.
Yeah,
than in the
I would say so too.
BMW. Yeah, that's crazy. And I like the software, and
I mean, at least
so quick, and yeah.
I mean, at least from what we can comment on driving at lower speeds, because the BMW 7 Series is really well insulated. I feel like from almost all areas, but at 120 kilometers an hour, you feel something from the side mirrors, like talking very, very high level. So we got to see how it is that way, because with the Denza Z9 GT, for example, also direct competitor to this one, I also felt that as soon as you drive more than 100, 120 kilometers an hour, it's different, you know. So we got to test that at the later stage. But I got to agree to Leah, the seats are better in the BMW 7 Series, but this one here makes a more silent impression, and also like with this new suspension technology and so on. It's definitely a very, very interesting one. So yeah,
the software is better here.
And the software is just everything is
so
quicker.
Quick, yeah.
It's quicker, definitely, yeah. So I mean, the initial question was, is this like the nail in the coffin for the German automotive industry? And I mean, not in that extreme way, definitely not, because the Germans still also build very nice cars. And
what is the price difference?
I mean, it's hard to say with the price difference. It's a good question here. I mean, this is sold in China under 100,000 euros if you calculate the yuan price. So if it would be sold like in Germany, also with the taxation and so on, I guess that would be rather 150 or something. So I wouldn't say that there would be a big price difference between the Nio Et9 and the BMW 7 Series. So I don't think so. Also, if you look at how they are selling their current vehicles, you know, on the markets, I don't think there should be a big price gap. And then, of course, the question is, would you go for one? But definitely, it's very important to check it out, to see what they can do, what they're able to do. And if you still remember that this is a very, very fresh and new brand, and they are not on the market for so long, it's incredible how good this car is riding, considering they don't have much engineering experience, you know, and where other brands maybe have like decades of engineering experience. That's very impressive. And talking about impressive, here this steer-by-wire thing, rear axle steering up to 8.3 degrees in the opposite direction, and that's what we can do here right now. Let's check about that. So here now, and then let me turn in.
Wow.
That is not feeling like 5 meters 33 or 210 inches.
Feels like the Firefly.
Yeah, that feels crazy, right? It's absolutely crazy. So and also then the combination of the rear axle steering together with this steering here, when I do some slalom here, that feels crazy. That really feels crazy. So wow, yeah, I gotta say, definitely impressed here by the driving experience. Now some highway acceleration. That was 60 to 105, something like that. Woo! Yeah, that was very powerful. Also in the sport mode. And as I said, we can't drive too fast today, but we try to drive as fast as allowed. We also switched the vehicle here to the different interior color, to the blue exterior, just to give you a little bit more variation. But they are both basically similar spec. And now on the motorway, of course, with the cars driving a little bit quicker around us and so on, at least we can have some more speed here. But so far at these speeds here at the moment, like 75 kilometers an hour, around like 40-45 miles per hour, still very silent. So no change as for that respect. And also now the suspension has to work also with these higher speeds. And I really have the feeling that at least the normal driving mode is astonishingly stiff in a way. But this is a very strange feeling. It's not stiff in a way of that you feel everything that's underneath you, but it's stiff in a way of that the car is being kept stiffly upright. You know what I mean? You really know what I mean, right? But, yeah, there's indeed very interesting feeling to that. So you gotta get used to it, and it really has this combination of these unique features that make up the like the whole driving impression of that one. A little bit closer with my knee, by the way, at the infotainment screen. See that here, like when you have long legs. But wow, yeah, the silent aspect, so to speak, is to me the best thing about this car, because it's still so relaxing. If you really need to steer by wire, and if you need that special suspension, yeah, maybe not necessarily, but I think in the silence game, that is something, say, like, yeah, can't have enough of it, you know. So I guess we definitely have to like follow the brand, see what they're doing, see what they come up with next, and of course also becoming profitable is also another thing. So the one thing is building great cars, and the other thing is making a good business with it, definitely, for sure. And now it's time for the chauffeur driving part, and Nia joins me for that. So we have our own chauffeur for that right now, because this car is mainly planned as a chauffeur car as well, and I'm really looking forward to the suspension. So what we actually do now is first start in the normal mode, and then we switch over to the special chauffeur boss mode, so to speak, which should be even more optimized than here for the rear passengers. And I mean, even if we're like just exiting this parking lot here,
Very nice, yeah.
You feel that the suspension is just level, you know. And I think that the fun thing is that it doesn't feel that soft.
Mm-hmm.
So it's not that you have like a floating ride. It's rather like stiff, stable, you know, like this. It always stays like this, but not in a wobbly way, but rather in a stiff way. You know,
reminds me of the Mercedes suspension.
The
also like that.
Okay, yeah.
It's also stiff, but good. Yeah.
Yeah, I mean, yeah, with the Mercedes air suspension, when they are tuned on a stiffer note, like with AMG, for example, then you don't feel so much it's air suspension, but still somewhat works. Yeah, also that it's so silent. You hear here, you hear that you hear nothing, basically.
Now I want to sleep with my jet lag.
Yeah. I mean, that also, like, the trunk is separated. You get the idea here now, because there's just no sound from the rear, right? So I think the noise deadening feature is probably the one that is most relaxing, I would say. And also here the 23-inch wheels, which are both front and the rear, you don't really feel them that much. I mean, the roads are quite good here, though, you know, so we haven't faced any super destroyed roads. This is another thing, like the driver was approaching the traffic light, and you probably also see it on the camera that there is no movement.
Yeah,
so this
I like
is
that.
yeah.
It's
So
good.
I really gotta say, like, for driving, I would maybe prefer the more classic approach. But here, then, being a passenger, it's actually
Then you feel it,
is quite relaxing. You know, I gotta say that I'm not sure if I can get used to this.
Yeah, I want it here in my
Yeah. I'm not sure if it's a European
but maybe
thing.
you can do it like that.
You can just there we go. Yeah. So we need to pull these pillows here up a little bit.
Maybe it's a German thing.
Yeah, maybe the German maybe want their pillows rather, right? I also like the base ergonomics. I found that it's not. I mean, it's okay, but it's not ideal. You know what I mean? Like the position of the lower lumbar area. I don't know. That's not ideal to me. Maybe find something.
Too tall.
I don't know if you're maybe too tall for that. I mean, here it still works somewhat. You know.
I'm a little bit.
Yeah, for Leah is a little better, right? But the cool thing is really that I don't feel any motion sickness and so on. This is probably also what this suspension does very well. because you have this less movement here, you know. So yeah, definitely a very cool chauffeur experience here in the rear. And now we are switching the driving modes to the special chauffeur experience. It's a little bit softer, right?
Yeah.
I think it's softer.
Now it's not that sporty, yeah.
Yeah, but I feel that actually the car is moving a little bit more now, isn't it? So before that, in normal driving, I rather felt like it's like just like a, I don't know, piece of wood lying on the table or something. But now I feel it's trying to, I mean, it tries to stay upright in this chauffeur mode, but at the same time to, let's say move a little bit to counteract what's going.
I don't like that much.
Yes, it's weird, right? So I mean I get the idea to be maybe like if you are in the cradle or something and you're being carried or something like that. But
Thomas has always the best examples.
Best
he always
comparison.
like, huh?
You got what I mean, right?
Yeah.
Yeah, but I think really like in the normal driving mode, it's a stiffer driving experience. And here it's more, it's not that the car would be, it's still remaining really leveled and upright, but somehow allows for a little bit more movement. And yeah, I guess you gotta just tell your driver what do you fancy about driving mode. As for the energy consumption, we achieved here something with limited speeds, 19 kilowatt hours on 100 kilometers. It's 3.3 miles per kilowatt hour would mean 500 kilometers or 300 miles of real world range. But that wasn't like high speed, and yeah, we couldn't test too much from it. Pretty hot temperature, so the AC had to work a lot. But you know that for batteries, it's actually yeah, way worse when it's way colder than if it would be way hotter. So gotta say though, it seems to be that considering the conditions, the energy consumption is relatively high. And then we maybe have to do another test again when we can also drive higher speeds and so on to really check the consumption as for this respect. And then the basic question is, of course, yeah, is it like a nail in the coffin for the German automotive industry? I would say definitely not yet. The price, as I said, here in China, underneath of 100,000 euros. When you buy it with the battery, you can even go lower. If you lease the battery, it's also possible, and you can also use these battery swap stations that Nio is also offering as an alternative to fast charging. It's also very interesting technology here in China, where we are at the moment in the Shanghai area. You can see one of the charging the swap stations. But yeah, there are also charging ports here, so a lot of charging stations here, but then in the, like this gray box, this is a swap station. There, of course, it's even quicker to directly just swap a battery. I mean, it's not like primarily interesting because of the like charging process. But I think it's very interesting that you can swap a battery if maybe at a later stage you want maybe a different size of a battery, and you can easily swap that also and then keep it long term or something like that. The thing is, it works well from the exterior. The interior build quality is amazing. They do not offer animal-free seats. You have to do that meanwhile. And the technology, I mean, this car is full of technology, and the better technology are meanwhile high-grade leatherette seats, because the material is a better technology material. That's the thing. We see it with the latest BMW luxury vehicles, for example. Yeah, and they have it also inside the Firefly, for example, the high-grade leatherette materials here in the Nio Corporation. The space offering on the inside is also really good. And the question was, of course, how good is it in driving? It drives very well. The suspension technology is amazing too. Yes, it works even a little bit quicker than with Porsche. But the thing is, if you really need it as a driver, not necessarily. I rather prefer to drive a more standard suspension. But especially for passengers, being in here on the normal passenger side, but also in the rear for chauffeur reasons, is of course way more comfortable when the car is always staying upright. So that's actually pretty good stuff. And that the car is very, very silent on the interior. But then the question is, what price could there be made on the European market, for example, and definitely not the price they make here. I think that's not like the main crucial point. So in the European market, this could be, well, another competitor. They are, you know, on par with the Germans there. The infotainment system speed is even better, but still the German luxury cars are still great cars, you know, so they wouldn't be erased by that. It's more the problem for the Germans here on the Chinese market, that if you can get this one way cheaper on the Chinese market, than the comparable German cars. And if people here in China want to buy more Chinese, for example, then this one has greater chances to be sold. And that's actually the main problem for the German manufacturers. Not that they are beaten on the home market, but rather that they lose sales on the Chinese market. And this is also something where this car is only pushing in this trend. What do you think about the Nio Et9? Tell me in the comments and directly compare the competitors.